Good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning? Do you have to have the curtains open? It's making a light. Dog's looking out the window. Yeah, it's chilly here too, man, which is, surprising. Tennessee, We've got snow and ice on the ground from over the weekend where it actually snowed in Tennessee, It doesn't happen a lot, but hope you guys are doing well this morning. We're going to do another Tutorial Tuesday. We're going to make a spring today, which my son broke my example spring that I had printed and saved here, so I don't have it to show you guys, but you've seen them before. It's the springs I used, which the glue came off on this, so ignore that. But anyway, it's the springs that I used on this, which I got to reglue that. Springs are not that difficult. So we're going to get into those today. I'm going to do things a little bit different today, because I want to put out some edited videos at some point here. So when I start the tutorial, I'm actually going to go to a screen share without the chat, without the webcam, without any of that. We're going to just go to just a screen share. And during the short portion where I'm actually making the spring, I'm not going to acknowledge chat, because I want to pull this video, download this video later, cut out just the section where I make the spring, and edit it out as just a tutorial to put up a edited video of just the tutorial. So I will be back to the chat when the spring is complete. Then we'll switch back to regular things, and I'll chat with everybody and all that. But so during the portion where I'm making the spring, I'm actually going to purposely be ignoring chat and try to do this as kind of a one-shot deal, and that way hopefully I can save this separately as a tutorial. No, just trying something different, and I want to be able to put out more short, clear, concise tutorials. And if I use the live stream for that, then I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. I can stream with you guys, but I can also shoot my tutorial at the same time. And if the reason to have the webcam off is just in case I stutter through this a lot or do a lot of ums and uhs, I can voice over it and do it that way. And don't have to worry about a picture of me and the voice that I'm using not matching the webcam. So no chat, no webcam, just a screen share when we get ready for that. Yeah, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. And good morning, Ben and Joe and Mike and Ryan. So yeah, when we get to the tutorial here in a couple minutes, I'm just waiting for everybody to have a chance to kind of get here and whatnot. That's how I'm going to do it today, so that I can save it out and try to make a edited short, just the tutorial portion. That way somebody coming to the channel looking for a tutorial doesn't see like the 2-hour length on it and go, I'm not in for a 2-hour tutorial right now, because this is going to be more like a 5-minute tutorial. Be very, very quiet. The tank is going well. The tank is going well. You know, of course, you guys have seen the completed side. Well, which at some point I'll replace the red tread in it. But right now, I'm bigger fish to fry. The other side, all this part is complete. And I've begun assembling the tread for the other side. I've got it all printed out. It takes a while to assemble. No, well, kind of. My dog got out the other night, and I've got to go outside, and that's why I got a work shirt on. Go outside and finish trying to secure a couple spots that he could potentially have gotten out from. We don't know where he got out exactly, so I'm just having to go through and reinforce any spot that looks like a weakness. Now, the funny thing is, my little dog is smart enough that he didn't run off when he got out. He didn't run off. Instead, he come around to the front door, and this was in the middle of the night. He come around to the front door and sat at the front door and cried until he woke somebody up. So, yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I opened my eyes, and I was like, I thought I heard something. And I sat up, and I was kind of trying to shake it off and trying to figure out what was going on. And then my wife woke up when I sat up, and she's like, what? And I was like, I thought I heard something. And then I hear it again, and I was like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah, what is that? I said, I don't know. I was like, where's the dog? So we start calling for him. We get up and start walking around the house looking for him. Can't find him. I went out in the backyard and looked around. I didn't see him. And I come back in the house, and I tell my wife, I was like, I can't find Joey. And so she gets up and starts looking around for him. And while she's looking out in the backyard, I go around and open the front door. I was going to walk outside and see if he had gotten out and see if I could see him anywhere. And as soon as I opened the door, there he was, crouched down on the welcome mat with his head down and his tail between his legs, crying. So he was a sad puppy. He got out and he regretted it immediately. He's like, let me back in. He said, I have a nice warm bed in there and a family that I love. And I mistakenly got out of there. And I can't figure out how to get back in. So, yeah, he was so excited when he come back in the front door. And it was obvious that he was excited that not over what he had done. He was excited over getting back in. So, but he still, it's like now, it's like I can't trust you. I can't trust him. So now I got to walk around and find all the weak spots and reinforce them best I can. And I couldn't do that over the weekend with all the snow and stuff. And now we've got a nice blue clear sky day. I can take my drill outside and run some screws into a couple of the boards and things like that are coming off. The idiots that built our privacy fence, they didn't use treated lumber. So it's all warping, and as it's warping, it's pulling the nails out. They use nails instead of screws. They didn't use galvanized nails, so in some spots the nails are rusted clear through and breaking off. And so I went and bought some galvanized screws, and I'm going to, all the spots that there are boards that are warping off or coming off, I'm going to go and drive a galvanized screw through it. All right, well, I think we've had enough time for everyone to get here today that wants to see this happen live. So, without further ado, let's go to the tutorial screen share and start the tutorial. And I'll still be able to see the chat because I'll pull it up over here. But no offense, I won't be responding to anything during the tutorial in case I can use the audio. But if I end up not being able to use the audio, I won't have any of the stuff in the way of the screen so I can do a voiceover. All right, so let's get started on making a spring. I've already deleted the cube from the startup cube from the Blender window, which is pretty self-explanatory. Just click on it, hit delete, and get rid of it. We're going to start off by making a circle. Scale the circle down a little bit. You know what? False start. Let's undo this, because you know what I haven't done? I didn't do the screen share for my button actions and stuff. Screencast keys. That's what I was thinking of. Run script. Active 3D view. Turn on my screencast keys. All right. False start. Okay. Now, let's get started. Let's go ahead and make a spring. I've already deleted the startup cube that Blender has on the screen at the start, which is pretty self-explanatory. Just hit delete and get rid of it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a circle. We're going to scale it down. Rotate it along the, let's do it along the X, 90 degrees. No, let's do it along the Y. There we go, Y, sorry. Just slide the circle out on that Y-axis. You hit Control-Alt-Shift-C and move the origin back to the 3D cursor, which is still in the middle here. And we're going to add a Screw Modifier along the X-axis. Now that's kind of rough, so we're going to bump the steps up to 32. That should make it smoother. Now, we wanted to go the other way. Sorry. False start again. Well. And you can take this number however far you need to. Let's go -5. Now, the number of iterations you do is going to determine how big the spring is. The amount of screw that you either add or subtract determines which direction the spring goes and how far spaced apart the springs are. The more loops in the spring, the less compression it'll have, but the stronger it'll be as well. So if you wanted to go like -9 here, you'll see there, that spring would compress farther because the turns in the spring are farther apart. But we're going to go back to -5. And we're going to take our iterations down 7's good. Okay. We're going to go ahead and apply the screw modifier, which cannot be done in edit mode. Back to object mode. Oh, I got to convert the curve. Sorry. See, this is going horribly this morning. Okay, take 2. Let's just delete it and start over. Try again. Take 2. Or take 3 at this point. Let me put my 3D cursor back in the middle. Gosh. I'm just having a horrible day. Okay. Get it back kind of. There we go. All right. Let's try again. Okay, well, and that's why I chose the wrong circle. I chose the curved circle instead of the mesh circle. See, I'm not awake yet. That's the problem. All right. Sorry, guys. This is the stuff you never get to see when people make edited videos. You never get to see them screw it up 100 times first. Hopefully I don't screw it up 100 times. Let's get it right this time. All right, let's get into making a spring. Deleted the startup cube, which is fairly self-explanatory. Just select it, hit delete, get rid of it. And we're going to go up here to a mesh circle, and we're going to create the circle. Now scale the circle down. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees along the Y. And then we're going to grab the little green arrow here and we're going to move it along the Y. And then Control, Alt, Shift, C. Move the origin back to the 3D cursor. What this is going to do is allow, when you apply this or put this modifier on it, is it will travel around its origin point. And if you move its origin point away from where it is, it will make it travel out in a circle. So now we're going to add the modifier, a screw modifier, which we don't want it on the Z-axis. We don't want it on the Y-axis. We want it on the X-axis. Now, you see it looks kind of blocky and chunky. That's determined by the number of steps. So we're going to double the number of steps from 16 to 32, which will make it fairly smooth. Now, in your screw modifier, the offset revolution is the screw setting here. And whether you take that up or down determines which direction your spring goes. In our case, we're going to go, let's go -5. Now each one of those is a turn of the spring. You can see here. I'm going to bump the iterations up, and you can take that up as many as you need for your spring's purpose. Then we're going to apply that. So now we've more or less made a spring. But now we're going to tab into edit mode. Hit A to deselect everything. Now, with edge select mode on, hold down Alt and select the ring, because as you can see it's not closed in. We're going to hit the F key to make a face there, and do the same at the other end of the spring. Because we're 3D printing stuff, we want to make a manifold object. So you could stop here. If you wanted to. But I'm not going to, because when I'm making these springs for the vehicles, I like their mounting points to be fairly flat. So there's a couple things that I did with mine, which again, you don't have to do because this will spring. It just gives you a very small area to glue it top and bottom. I want the things to sit flat, and I want a larger surface to be able to glue it in place so that it holds better. So, a couple things we're going to do. Tab back out of edit mode. We're in object mode. I'm going to use a couple Boolean operators to flatten the spring on the top and the bottom. I'm going to scale this cube up, move it down to about there. And then I'm going to duplicate that cube, move it up along the Z, and do the same at the top. I'm going to select my two cubes, hit Control J to join them together. Then I'm going to select the spring, or select the cubes first, select the spring second. Now, I have hard ops on my machine, so for me this would be as simple as hitting Control minus to do the Boolean operator, but since hard ops cost money and not everybody watching this tutorial is going to want to spend the money on that, I'll show you guys how to do. Now, Bool Tools is a free Boolean operator add-on, and one that I highly recommend, and that's how we're going to use here today. So we're going to do a difference. So as you can see, we made a flat spot on the top and the bottom. Now, I like the mounting point on top and bottom to be a full circle. So from here, go back into Create. I'm going to create a torus. And I'm going to scale it up to it's about the same size as the spring. If it's a little bit larger, it's okay. Now I'm going to edit the torus. Wireframe. Select the bottom half. I'm going to delete the vertices. Gives us a nice flat spot. And loop select, holding Alt, I'm going to select that loop, and then Shift and Alt, I'm going to select this loop, and we're going to bridge the edge loops. Tab back out of edit mode. Hold down Shift and hit D to duplicate it. Z to move it up along the Z axis. Then we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. I'm going to select the two toruses, Control J to join them. And then we're going to do another Boolean operator. I'm going to select the spring, holding down Shift, select spring to get everything selected. We're going to go back to Tools, down to Bool Tools, and we are going to do a union. So now we have a compression spring with a nice flat top and bottom. For gluing purposes and mounting purposes, you'll have a nice flat area to glue to the top and bottom of the spring. And that's all there is to it. You make a circle, you do a spring modifier on it, and then the additional and optional things are I split a torus in half and put it on top and bottom so that it was a full circle to give us a nice flat gluing area. And that's all there is to it. There's a nice spring that you can use in your models to make functional suspension or any number of things that you could think of that a compression spring would help out. That pretty well concludes the tutorial, and springs aren't hard. There you go. So go out there, design stuff, give it a whirl. Let me know how things come out for you. I find when actually 3D printing it, it prints really well if you lay it on its side. The printer seems to handle that fairly well, and you get good strength out of the spring because I've had springs in my models such as the Scorpion that have been compressed many times and without any breakage. Thank you for tuning into this tutorial, and we'll see you next time on Tanner 3D. Now that the tutorial's gone, guys, I will pull this chat back up and we will just hang out now. Okay. So we'll go back to the regular screen share that has the chat and everything in it. And I may end up having to do some voiceover fixes on that because I didn't do that as smoothly as I wanted to. But thank you, guys. I wasn't paying real close attention to the chat during that because I was trying to focus on what I was doing. But as you can see, springs aren't that difficult. This will be fully 3D printable, and you can do cool stuff with it. So what's everybody else up to? What's everybody building? Now, if you're ever building anything that you need a compression spring for, you can just 3D print one instead of trying to size it for an existing metal spring and then going to the hardware store and buying springs and all that. Cool, man. Yeah, it's not hard. And this will fully 3D print and more videos from Hawk. Very cool. A day off from everything. I need a day off from everything. I was also hoping my computer didn't crash during all this. Like, if the computer crashes now, you know, well, it is what it is. But I was like, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. During the whole tutorial. Smart car shaped mold, about 1 foot in size, for cement. Huh. See you later, Don. Thanks for stopping in and watching the tutorial, man. I hope it is helpful at some point. That's kind of cool. So what are you doing with the cement car-shaped rocks? Are they decorations for your yard, or? Redneck yard stones. Very cool. I can get down with redneck stuff. I'm a country singer for a living, by the, you know. So I'm all about me some rednecks. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, as I come up with these tutorials, most of them I come up with the idea for them based upon things that challenges that I've had to figure out and conquer through my designs, because I needed a compression spring, and when I first needed the compression spring, I thought, well, I'll go buy some compression springs at the hardware store and then take some measurements off of them and try to figure out, you know, which ones are going to work for the project, and then size things in Blender for that. And then I thought, that seems like a whole lot of work. I was like, I wonder if I can just 3D model one and 3D print it. Get some rest, Ben. Get you feeling better, man. So yeah, I still have a long way to go on this second tread. That's about all I have assembled at this point on the actual treads. And I have loads and loads of these that I have to clean the supports off of and assemble. And the reason I haven't started printing the other parts of the tank yet is I've never printed anything that long. The bottom part of the body is a 23.5 hour print, according to Kira, which means it'll be more than 23.5 hours. I've never done a print that long, and it kind of intimidates me a little. And I'm wondering if I shouldn't, since I do have to cut the model apart a little bit for people with smaller printers anyway, if I shouldn't go ahead and do that first so I can break it into smaller, less lengthy chunks. What's going on, John? So in trying to take your advice, I used part of the live stream to record a tutorial. So I'm going to go back later and download this stream and cut just that part out and try to put up an edited video that's just the tutorial. And today we made a spring. A 3D printable spring. Maybe another idea will be there we go. Making threaded rods with nuts on them for stuff, because that's another challenge that I had that I successfully completed. Maybe it'll make a good tutorial at some point as well. Although what I did requires hard ops, so. But again, I'm a big advocate of if you got the $20, buy hard ops. If you want to design in Blender and you got $20, it's worth it. It has saved me so many hours. I got my filament order in. It came in two separate arrivals. I ordered a 3-pack of Amazon Basics black, 3 kilograms. And it was on sale for $40, and I needed more black anyway, so for $40 I got 3 kilos. And then I couldn't resist. I've been eyeing this filament for a while, So I went ahead and ordered a kilo of it, even though it's more expensive than any filament I've ever ordered. The this is, I haven't taken it out of the package yet. Amylin. This is a temperature-based color changing filament. This one goes 3 colors. It starts off black, and then with heat it will turn like this kind of orangey brownish color, and then with more heat that goes all the way to yellow. So I'm looking forward to printing something with that. So it's $35 a kilo, which is more than I've ever spent on filament. So I'm gonna have to try it at some point. They sent me a sample of their glow-in-the-dark PLA that glows blue in the dark, but I do not have a hardened nozzle, so I will not be printing this. Because I understand that glow-in-the-dark is extremely abrasive. Maybe at some point I'll set one of my machines up to have a hardened nozzle and to be the go-to machine for abrasive material. Maybe that's what I'll do when I get the tornado fixed. Maybe I'll set the tornado up to be an abrasive machine. I'm intrigued by the new nozzle from E3D that they claim is better than the Olsen Ruby. What's it called? I don't think it's even out yet. I think it's coming out soon. The Nozzle X, yeah. Oh, you got one on the way, Scalda? Right. Well, you know, I'd rather. Well, first I need to get the tornado fixed, but I'd rather set up one machine to just be my go-to machine for certain jobs, and I think that's as good an idea as any, is to set up like the tornado to be my abrasive ready machine. So if I ever need to print anything that's abrasive, I'll just run it on the tornado after I get the tornado fixed. I still haven't done that. I'm procrastinating because I'm scared of electricity. I'll admit it freely. I don't like electricity. I don't like it. It's a phobia of mine. I'll overcome it at some point, but I refuse to work on it when I'm the only one home. And it seems like any time that I have time to work on it, I am the only one home. So yeah, I'm interested in that E3D Nozzle X that's supposed to be even better than the Olsen Ruby and cheaper, which I'm sure the Olsen guys are real happy about. Because they don't name the Olsen Ruby specifically as the one that they're saying is better than, but they're saying better than, better flow and better wear resistance than jewel tipped nozzles, I think is all they refer to it as. Yeah, so it's pretty abrasive stuff. And that tiny little sample they sent me, I couldn't really print anything useful with it anyway. Because, I mean, that's a tiny sample. Yeah, I've heard that as well, that it's possible to pop the jewels out. And I'd hate to spend $100 on a nozzle or close to it and it get ruined. Yeah, glow in the dark keychain. But I'm excited about the color changing stuff. I think I gotta determine which vehicle I want to print with it. Even though I already have the Scorpion printed, I was thinking the color change stuff would be real sweet to print a Scorpion out of. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is the truck version of the VSV. No. Oh, let's go ahead and save this. Why not? Let's save it. And components. Spring. I keep a folder for component items like this, things that I will use numerous times across multiple models, and just save items in there. That way I can just go in, open that, and copy and paste it into another project. Yeah, you know, and the other thing is it might be cool to save it for another project and design something that really specifically is meant for it. But I couldn't resist because it was just too cool to go from black to like an orange to yellow. I stumbled across it on Twitter one day originally, someone calling it lava filament, and they had a print that looked really cool. And so then I Googled it, and I found it on Amazon. It was like it's $34.99 a kilo. And so waited till I had to order some other filament and went ahead and tacked that into the order on Amazon. But yeah, I got 3 kilos of the Amazon Basics Black for $40 because that roll. I've almost killed it printing tread components like this piece and all the tread. It's, you know, because this tank is fairly large. That's how I know that before I get to, when I get ready to start printing the hauler, I'm going to need a filament sponsor. Because the hauler is huge. How huge is the hauler? 2 tanks. 2 of these will fit on the bed of the trailer. 2. On just the flat portion of the trailer, with room to spare, because the trailer is a meter long, and the cab is another half meter in length, over half a meter in length. But by the time you connect the two together, it'll be 1.5 meters long. You know, I'm not that far away from being ready to release some of the files to my Patreon supporters. Like, my Patreon supporters already have access to this stuff. My Patreon supporters could print this. The rest of the tank is coming soon. But you know, as I get stuff to a point where I'm ready to print it and test it, I go ahead and release it to those folks. And I don't know if anybody's even started printing tank stuff yet, but this is a lot of fun to play with. I enjoy this immensely. I don't know why this is so satisfying, but it is just so immensely satisfying to play with this. Yeah. So the hauler will fit 2 of these. And they're not even, I mean, they don't even have to be that close together. So think of the trailer on the hauler as, you know, longer than that. So, I mean, I'll be holding, when I get the trailer done, the trailer, I'll hold it and it'll be, it's going to be gigantic. So, yeah, I'll be, and I've already got one person that may be interested in sponsoring the filament for it. I got to get the design done. Let's open the hauler up and take a look at it. Unsorted. So yeah, here's the hauler where it sits now. And for scale purposes, I put 3 I've put 3 Jeeps on the flatbed part. So, I mean, the Jeep isn't small, you know, and 3 of them will fit on the flatbed. 2 tanks will fit on the flatbed. So it's fun. I've already got one person who may be interested in sponsoring. Whoa. Earthquake. One person who may be interested in sponsoring the filament for it. We'll see. Because like I said, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a whole bunch. That's why I made the joke the other day. Print and Play, James, posted a picture of his, 10 kilogram roll of IC3D blue filament that he was printing with. And I was like, I made the joke that it's like, I may need a roll that size of olive drab if anybody knows for an upcoming project, because I really do. I think it's going to take close to that. Because while the bed's not that thick, it's gonna have to be fairly strong, fairly rigid. So it's going to have a fairly high amount of infill density and things like that, because when you set the weight of 2 of these tanks on it, or 3 of the Jeeps on it, it needs to stay flat. It can't sag. So that's one of the things that I'm going to have to work on the engineering of is designing it to be very, very rigid without being very, very thick. So I may have to print out some test pieces. And I want to make when I section the trailer out, because I haven't done that yet, when I section the trailer out, I want the sections to be identical, so you can choose how long you want to make your trailer by printing however many sections of the trailer you believe you need. But also engineering it so that those pieces, when slid together, will maintain slid together and glued, will remain their rigidity. Retain their rigidity. I can't think this morning. That's why it took me 3 goes to get the tutorial going. And the threaded rod and nut that I was showing earlier is the tread tensioner. When you tighten or loosen this, it allows this piece here to travel in and out. So you hook the tread on there and you roll that nut out to push that tightly against the tread, so it gives you tension on the tread, because your gears are up here and here, and if you don't have a good amount of tension on them, the tread rolling won't turn both front and rear gears. Too much fun with that. Way too much fun with that. But I was giving myself a crap the other day, thinking I should have made a small tank. The first tank I made should have been a little tank. That way I could have been done with it already and said, hey, look. Instead, my first tank was a monster. But now that I know how to make tank treads, that's gonna open up some other possibilities. Like I've already been thinking, go back and make a half track version of the VSV, which would be fun. Hey Vince, working overtime today. My trash company picking up my trash. And I have noticed another good reason to have the tensioner is these treads, after being rolled quite a lot, they loosen up just a little bit. I mean, they're still holding together solid, because I mean, as you can see, I can support the weight of the tread by holding it. Nothing's coming apart. I mean, that's a significant amount of plastic that it's holding up, because I made these pretty thick and sturdy, where the axles are mounted, to take a potential significant amount of impact and not break. Yeah, that would be true tech. I'm sure there are some people who don't throw the stuff in the truck, in the back of the truck. Sometimes they throw it up front, I'm sure, when the stuff they see. I wouldn't. Guess you never know what that's been through and why that ended up here, you know. But so yeah, I've got loads of tread to still put together. That's it. Truly, the most tedious part of this is cleaning up the supports and stuff off of the tread and snapping it together. So yeah, the hauler will be done eventually. It's on the short list of projects. The tank is, of course, the first thing I want to get done. And I'm hoping to be done design-wise with the tank this week. Or within the next week. But that's why going ahead and releasing the files to patrons as I go, they can get started printing on something that takes a fair amount of time, because these treads take a fair amount of time to get done. Because not only do you have just the volume of parts, you have the amount of assembly required. So, okay, is this one all cleaned up good? Inspect it before I show. I'll go to webcam close up for this. So yeah, here you have a tread piece, which is still a little hairy. A little bit of stringing. But anyway, you kind of take it and you hold it at kind of an angle, like this. I don't know if you can see that. And kind of line the first piece up, and then just gently, ever so gently, rotate it into place. And once you get it in place, make sure it's lined up. Sometimes you need to take a pair of pliers and squeeze it just a little bit at the back. And then once it's lined up, work it back and forth a few times, and then that piece is done. And it's on to the next one. And there are 79 of these links per side. No, I have rolled this around so much. So very much. And the only thing I had to do was give the tensioner another half turn. And as you can see, again, they're still solid. And I mean, I'm giving that a significant pull right now, and they're not coming apart. You just have to be very careful when you're putting them together the first time, because that's where you're going to have your breakage when you're assembling them. Because as you put it together, you have to pry outward a little tiny bit as you're doing it on these very thin tabs, and every once in a while you break one. I would say at this point, I've gotten better at it. And that one I broke right now, just trying to get the support off of it, I broke the tab. I've gotten better at it. And so I would say I probably only throw away 1 out of 10 at this point. I don't have any printers that handle any of those really high temp materials. Everything I've printed is in PLA. Although I wonder, ASA is supposed to be pretty high strength, right? Or wonder if PET G would be more resistant. Oh, it might be interesting to people out there who have machines that print multiple different types of materials and have those materials on hand and at the ready. It might be interesting to see. Printed in other materials, like print some in PET G and print some in ASA, and I'm not going to say ABS since ABS is nearly a dead material. Yeah, that would be interesting too. Like a carbon fiber reinforced PLA. And see how much difference there would be from one tread to another. But you'd almost have to be insane to want to print that many treads and put them all together, because I'm thinking I'm insane at just working on the second half. Because a lot of work goes into this. Maybe 2.0 of the treads, I'll come up with a way that uses less support material, and then it's just assembly and not so much cleanup. Well, printing ABS that doesn't, the layers don't separate, and then you also need, should have a well ventilated room, since it does put off some fumes that you shouldn't be breathing. But I do wonder sometimes if the additional strength would be warranted in a case like this. Some of these treads, the first layer was a little too close, and so I'm having a hard time with some of the support. because my bed is not totally flat. It depends on how high a temp the bed needs to be, because that thing takes forever to get to a temperature above anything above 50. The highest I've ever got it was 60, and the difference was it takes 5-10 minutes to get up to 50, 55. It takes like a half an hour to get anything above 55 to get to like 60. I shudder to think what if it would ever get above 60, how long it would take, because the highest I've successfully, oh, there it went. I usually run it at 50, just because 50 takes 5 minutes to heat up and get going. That's the major drawback to a bed the size of the CR10S4. Just trying to heat it up.